Do you ever think about stuff? Then you're kinda doing philosophy. Everyone everywhere has always done some sort of philosophy, but the most important philosophy started around here, in ancient Greece, because they started asking the big questions about everything. So now everyone's asking questions about the world. Question 1. What's everything made out of? Thales thinks everything's made of water. No, says Heraclitus, everything's made of fire because fire's always moving and changing, just like the world's always moving and changing. Like you never step in the same river twice. Actually, says Empedocles, you guys are both kind of right because there's 4 elements that the world's made out of. Democritus thinks the world's made out of tiny little particles called atoms, and Pythagoras thinks everything's made of numbers because there's math behind everything. Man, this philosophy stuff is really important, says Socrates, but why doesn't the average Joe care about this stuff? Everyone's just a bunch of NPCs who go about their lives without thinking about why they do what they do. So Socrates began teaching people philosophy by asking them a bunch of questions. Yo, you there. Yeah? What are you doing? Going to the store. Why? I need food. Why? I'm hungry. Why? My body needs food to survive. Why? My body is limited, but I want to keep it alive. Why? Being alive is good. Why? Because life has value. Why? Because life is good. Why? Because it makes me happy, alright? What is happiness? Okay, you need to be executed. So Socrates was killed for asking too many questions, but his students lived on and they were able to answer those questions. Plato thinks he figured out the whole world. You know how you're made out of your body and your soul? Your soul is more real than your body because your body needs your soul, but your soul doesn't need your body. This applies to everything else too. Your body can perceive a physical apple, but your soul can perceive the idea of an apple, so that means the idea of an apple is more real than a physical apple. That means in general, ideas are more real than physical reality. So that means all the ideas, like shapes and numbers and concepts, must exist in the world of the forms, which is more real than the physical world. Okay, but where is this world of the forms? Is it in Brazil? No. Ohio? No, dude, it's not in the physical world because the physical world is finite and there's an infinite number of forms, so the forms must exist in some infinite place like the mind of God. But Plato had a student named Aristotle who disagreed. He agreed with Plato that the abstract form of a thing is different from the physical object itself, but unlike Plato, he said the form is located inside the physical object itself rather than in some higher world of the forms, because he thought Plato was separating ideas and objects too much. Aristotle wanted them to be more united so that things could make more sense. So Aristotle thought we could look at objects to figure out the ideas behind those objects. So Aristotle discovered 4 ways that things cause other things. So Aristotle believed that God is defined as the first cause, or the cause that causes all other causes but isn't caused itself. So Plato and Aristotle disagreed on some things, but they were both realists, meaning they believed the categories we use to describe objects are real forms or essences, rather than just being mere human labels for things. Then one day a Greek dude named Alex conquered a bunch of stuff which spread Greek philosophy all over the place. Then even after the Romans took over, they adopted Greek philosophy which made it spread even further. So now everyone's thinking about Plato and Aristotle. So then when Christianity started, it used a lot of Greek ideas. The New Testament of the Bible was written in Greek and used a lot of Greek philosophy as building blocks for its teachings. For example, it uses the theory of essences to explain how Jesus is truly God and also truly human. And later the church would use that to explain how God is 3 in 1, how God is one essence but 3 persons. Early Christians like St. Augustine stole Plato's ideas and made them Christian, like the idea of the body and the soul and how the soul is superior to the body. Also the idea that goodness, truth, and beauty are all objective, they're all eternal, they're all rooted in God's nature, and they're all connected to each other. Then medieval Christians like St. Thomas Aquinas stole Aristotle's ideas and made them Christian. He took Aristotle's idea of causation to explain why God exists. He also used Aristotle's theory of the forms to explain transubstantiation, where in communion, the bread and wine change substance into the physical body and blood of Christ, but still keep their outward appearance of bread and wine. And speaking of medieval Christianity, it just broke in half with the Reformation, and all the church leaders are arguing with each other, so the average person doesn't know what to believe. What if the entire world is a lie? This inspires a certain Catholic dude named Descartes to start from scratch and ask, if I question everything, what can I still be certain of? Step 1, I can know that I exist because even if an evil genie or a supercomputer is deceiving me, there's still a me that's being deceived. Step 2, I know that I'm finite, I have limits. Step 3, the finite implies the existence of the infinite, and the infinite is what we would call God because God is defined as being infinite in every way. And if God is infinite in every way, that means he's infinitely good, and that means he wouldn't deceive me. So that means I can trust my sense experiences, and I can trust that this world isn't one big lie. This changed philosophy, because people used to be asking, how can I figure out the world? But now they started asking, how do I know what I know, and how can I know that I know what I know? This causes people to question traditional ideas about God. For example, David Hume thinks we can only believe in things that we can observe, and since we can't observe God, maybe we can't be sure if God is real. So then Kant comes along and says, here's what we can know. We can't know the essence of a thing, we can only know our experience of a thing. We can't know what an apple really is, we can only know our experience of an apple. And that means we can't really know anything about God, we can only know our experience of God. The only thing we can know is our own personal experience. Outside of that, we can't know truth at all. That can't be right, cause, Kant got everyone to question objective truth and pure reason, which left everyone wondering, what even is truth? Hegel thinks he has an answer. It's that truth evolves over time, which makes sense around this time period because it's the Industrial Revolution and science and technology keep improving. It's also around the time when Darwin figured out that life evolves over time as well. So here's how truth evolves. I think this. No, I think this. Maybe we're both kind of right. Now I think this. No, I think this. Maybe we're both kind of right. And the cycle repeats, and every time it repeats, the world's spirit, which I guess you could call God, grows in its understanding as humans approach the truth. So with this progressive view of history, everyone's modernist by the turn of the 20th century, which means everything modern is good, because everything keeps getting better. Life, medicine, technology, human rights, we're on our way to utopia at this rate. Man, I have so much faith in humanity, I can't wait to see what happens next. Yeah, that didn't work. So philosophy had lost faith in God, but now they had just lost faith in humanity as well after seeing the horrors of the 20th century. So then what are we even to believe? The answer was, honestly, nothing. We give up. There is no objective truth. So postmodern philosophy was just about deconstructing previous ideas of truth rather than building up new ones. Modern art deconstructs traditional ideas about beauty. Modern gender theory deconstructs traditional ideas about gender. Maybe nothing means anything. Maybe we have to create our own meaning. But with how depressing the modern world is, it's caused a lot of people to wonder, what if we've taken a wrong turn?